Today's July 5th, 2024. Current Bitcoin price is $56,704.
Welcome to the BitBite podcast, your source for news and information about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. This podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not financial advice.
What's going on, Rick? How was your Independence Day?
Oh, it's doing better than my Bitcoin wallet.
I got a phone call from Chris a little while ago, and he's like, how long is this going to stay this way? I'm like, I don't know, man. There's a lot of different things that could play out, but I'd say at least we got a couple weeks where it's going to be hurting, if nothing else.
If nothing else. I mean, if it doesn't turn around in a few weeks, the pain might keep flowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what you heard at the beginning of the episode there, yeah, we are at $56,704. And I believe, what are we looking at with our current theoretical purchases, Rick?
Okay, so late October, I said buy $3,000 worth of Bitcoin. That equates to 0.0885 Bitcoin. So that 3,000, it went up over 6,000. Right now, it's barely above $5,018. So oof. That's part of the Bitcoin ride right there.
Yeah.
And then the second theoretical buy was right at the halving. I think it was like April 20th or 19th. And bought 1,000 then. And right now that $1,000 is shrunk down to $887.
So we're below on that one.
Yep.
Below the initial investment price. Well, I mean, we've talked about this before. These types of drawdowns are not uncommon. We've seen up to a 40% correction during a bull market before. And honestly, this is still a fairly minor pullback, but I think what makes this one doubly kind of terrifying at the same time is because it seemed like with all the pressure that we had coming into this bull cycle, we just thought it was going to be nuts. I honestly thought it was going to be nuts. But you were right. You called it in the last episode. You said we were probably going to go below 60.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was waiting for to happen at the beginning of May, and it never materialized. But it looks like it's showing up now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been it's a wild ride so far. Right now, and I was looking at the ETF flows. If you look at the ETF flows, obviously the 4th of July, there wasn't a whole lot that went on, but they're not horrible. When you look at the flows, I mean, they're not great either. They're negative, except for today. There was 143.1 million that you see for July 5th. Do you see that on there on that chart? So, but the outflows haven't been too bad from the ETF. So the question has got to be raised: what is spooking the market?
Well, from what I've heard on the internet, we got to blame the Germans.
The Germans. We talked about Mt. Gox on the last episode, which the funny thing about Mt. Gox is that's been kind of like the boogeyman in the closet for the past 2 bull cycles. There's always been this fear oh no, these people are going to get their coins back. How horrible. Yeah, no, they deserve to get their coins back. They had it robbed from them. So now, Mt. Gox has started moving some coins, and then the German government sold roughly 175 million worth of Bitcoin, reducing their holdings to about 40,359. So, although they have also bought back in, so they sold a bunch, but now apparently the addresses they're able to report on and see is that got 41,226. So they have purchased almost 1,000 Bitcoin again.
That makes no sense, but hey.
Well, I mean, it's market manipulation at its finest, right?
Exactly.
And then the U.S. government moved 237 Bitcoin on the 4th of July. So, there's a lot of different stuff that's going on, and I think it's causing the market to be really kind of spooked. But I honestly, I don't know. I what I want to see, as we go into this weekend, is I would like to see us close above 57,500. because the weekly close is going to be a big determiner on this thing, in my opinion. And I mean, we're pretty close right now. We're at 56,704. So we need to close basically another $1,000 above that over the weekend. But it all depends what happens with the Cascades. If there's more pressure that's going to come in or what's going to happen there. We did see a nice little bounce because this morning we actually went down to 53?
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, 56 versus 53, that's a lot better. Granted, the past couple of days have been just rough.
Yeah. Well,
at that price.
And on the 4th of July, I honestly thought, because I saw it come down, and I think it was right around, I saw it at 56,677, and I saw it bounce back up. But then I went about the holiday, and I didn't pay any attention to it after that until late last night. And then I saw the price, and I was like, oh my gosh, we've really tanked.
Uh-huh.
And then,
I don't think it means death is here because, like you said, there's been crazy drops in previous bull cycles.
Yeah.
But my fear is, if it closes, or if it, like you were talking about closing, at a certain level next week, if it doesn't hit the 57, that's going to be a weekly candle in the negative. With some wicks down, I don't know. There's going to be it's going to be showing some downward pressure. But if it goes much below 50, that's when all bets are off in my book.
Yeah. I don't know. I was listening to one crypto analyst. He was saying basically everything's still intact until we get to 47,000. I personally want to see weekly close above 57.8. Like I said, we can get above that. I think we're golden. Well, not golden, but I mean, I think that shows that we're not too doom and gloomy. If we get below 50 and we have a weekly close below 50, I don't know. That's kind of scary. We could be in for a little bit of a bumpy ride. But the crazy thing about that, though, too, is that, part of me feels like this is what happens when you let those big institutions into the game.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
With them sharks.
Yeah, we're swimming with the sharks. And that's why, I think this market has been so weird this whole time. We are completely out of any trend that we were in previously. We've broken everything. Obviously, we still want to see that rocket fuel. And part of the reason for that rocket fuel, though, too, is that you've got to shake out everybody else in the market. We were kind of talking about that before we got recording, where, if there's people out there that have gotten scared, especially if this is their first bull market, if they've gotten scared and they've sold off, they're probably not going to buy back in until 70 or 80.
True.
Because they got shook out of their positions.
Here's my thing is, this isn't my first bull market, and this one's it's a little bit scary. Even going through this again, it's like, oh man, here we go.
Yeah.
How's this going to shake out? Because nobody really knows what the chart's going to do later. I mean, that's why, traders and investors that are really good are really wealthy, but most people end up with basically homeless trying to do this type of game.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Fun times. I'm still going to hodl. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. No. I completely am there with you. I have price targets where I do want to take some profits, but I'll never sell my whole position. But at the same time, I'm just part of me is the big players on Wall Street and the Black Rocks and stuff like that. They don't want the poor people in this market. They don't want the regular common people in this market.
No,
they want to shake everybody out. Yeah. You guys front ran them.
Basically, the only time in history that's happened that common people have front run the big institutional investors.
Yeah, and at this point, they want that cake to themselves, so they're going to do what they can to shake the price out, in my opinion.
I agree.
So, I don't know. I mean, I wish we had a lot more news to go off of, and I think we kind of talked about this before, too. But I guarantee coming Monday or Tuesday, you're going to hear that there was some big players that purchased a lot of Bitcoin with this price dip.
Oh, every time. Every time there's a dip like this, there's some whales that get bigger.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I want to comment on too with the Mt Gox fear, apparently a lot of the people that were going to get the settlements early, like the first round, because I believe they're expecting this to kind of last about 3 months with the Mt. Gox disbursements. A lot of the people that got contacted that they were going to sell off, they've been contacted by financial institutions already. And if they wanted to sell, they were making them offers ahead of time. So it was never even going to hit the market.
Interesting.
So this is a lot of doom and gloom that's being just done by people that are afraid. Could be somewhat orchestrated by other people as well. I mean, because this market is very moved by sentiment.
Yeah. Well, all the markets are manipulated. I mean, how many times do, some big investor goes on Jim Cramer's show and says, oh, I'm going to invest in X, Y, and Z. And then behind the scenes, they're basically offloading that position as they speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Happens all the time.
Yeah. Well, Jim Cramer is one of the most notorious ones. You always do the opposite exactly of whatever he is saying.
Exactly. You don't follow the herd, and you definitely don't follow Jim Cramer.
Anything else that you want to bring up before we kind of close out this episode? And I'm sorry, this episode shows short. Like there wasn't a whole lot to bring up. A lot of it, I mean, the holidays, we were kind of closed down financially for a day this week. And really, other than this kind of fear stuff that's happening from the United States government, Germany, and Mt. Gox, like you got a triple threat going on. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of other news right now.
Now, I'll just say a couple of things. The fear and greed index is something that people need to be paying attention to because fear has been taking over recently. Now, how much further is this going to go? We'll see. But when things get too greedy, that's when the price basically peaks. So it takes this fear to kick in before the price can take off again.
Mm-hmm.
Up to a certain point. Granted, if fear completely takes over and then the sky starts falling for real, all bets are off. But we're not out of this yet. And the second thing I want to mention is go check out our website.
Yeah. Yeah, we did some things. We have the previous newsletters that you may have missed. We actually do have those articles up under the blog portion. And then we also have the Bitcoin basics are up on there now. So it basically goes through an origin of Bitcoin and then kind of gives you a glossary terms of some common crypto terms that you may hear. We do have that up on the website currently.
Yep. And then I'm going to be working on expanding those, just fleshing them out a little bit more as far as like an article on that term.
Yeah.
I'll try and do that as well.
And the other thing too that we have is we still have the signups for the newsletter, and then we still have the deals tab. So if you are going to do some self-custody of your Bitcoin, we do have links for the Elipal and the Ledger. And that just basically helps support the channel. You're buying directly from those vendors basically, but we get a little bit of kickback if you decide to go that route.
That's right. And whatever you do, don't get Mt. Goxed.
Yeah, no doubt. Do not do that. So thank you all for listening. We hope you've had a great Independence Day for those of you that are in the United States, and great Canada Day for those of you in Canada.
And Bastille for France here soon.
Even though your government's trying to tear itself apart. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. We will talk to you all soon.
All right, bye.